has the trend been over the years, since you said that the Tata AIG launched its first product in 2014 with respect to cyber, and today it's 2022. So how what is the difference that you have seen over the years, or the trend that you have seen over the years?
Yeah, so as I said, the experience is very dynamic when it comes to cyber. That the way the risk is dynamic. Initially, what we have experienced, including our reinsurer, when we speak to them, the major claims what we have seen on the forensic side, wherein these data breaches have happened, incidents have happened, and followed by forensics investigation, wherein the insurers have paid the forensics cost. But after WannaCry, what we have seen, the increased number of ransomware incident wherein extortions has been demanded. And when I'm talking about extortions, even Indian companies, my insureds, have paid ransom as high as $9 million US.
Oh,
okay.
Oh.
So these are the trends, and which we see. There were years 2019, especially when I look at NotPetya, wherein insurers, reinsurers have paid major claims with respect to business interruption. And let me also tell you, when we are talking about this particular incident, it is just not limited to cyber insurance policies. And that's why, when you look at, as I said, the risk is very dynamic. Targeted industries, it's changing completely from 6 months to 6 months. Probably sometime we look at many healthcare industries are getting targeted. When it comes to NotPetya, it was more and more of utility companies. Last 2 years, it was more and more of manufacturing and pharma companies got targeted. So whether it's claim, whether it's payout under the policy, even underwriting for that matter. Now, the other challenge which the insurers face, this is not a historical product like property or marine, wherein you have historical data to suggest that this is the right premium which an insured should pay. Now, when you look at last 2 years, insureds have experienced increase in premium, and it's just not 10-20%. Sometimes it is even 2 times, 3 times increase in the premium. Why? Because the insurers who were probably charging before the pandemic some rate, now they are unable to sustain with those rates which they were offering, and that's why you say sudden increase in premium. So that's the way this product is dynamic. And as I said, it's a new age product, wherein the insurers also don't have those experience which they have in other product, and that's why you see all these changes continuously happening on this particular portfolio.
Thank you so much, Nasim. We have Paul also with us. Paul, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. I'm here in the States, and it's 2:15 in the morning, so I apologize.
Paul, thank you so much for joining us at 2:15 in the morning. It's really our pleasure that you have been over here. I'll just give a quick introduction about Paul. So Paul is by the way based out of US, and on a special request, he has joined us. Paul Hacker is a specialty lines broker specializing in hard to place professional and management liability. He brings 28 years of experience as a seasoned insurance professional specializing primarily in the healthcare marketplace. He brings expertise to our panel by bringing in dealing with the myriad of complexities in the ever-changing healthcare area in areas such as accountable care organization, third-party administrators, and other medical related organizations. Thank you, Paul, for joining us. Paul represents our fraternity, that is a broker fraternity. And my first question to you, Paul, is that how can a broker help clients?
Right. Well, basically, thank you for having me, first of all. So a broker brings their experience to the table, and they offer a number of different options. They go out to the markets, they go out to the cyber markets and provide a number of different options to the client. If you work directly with just one agent, they work directly with a company, they only have one option. And then I think what Nathan Jum said is correct. Cyber insurance is so complex today. 2 years ago, it was so much easier to get insurance. All you had to do is answer a couple of questions. Today, they're asking a lot more security questions. If you don't have these security provisions in place, you're not going to get any insurance. What a broker brings, just to answer your question, brings a number of different options to the table for the customer.
Thank you, Paul. So, Paul, when we talk about cyber insurance, okay, and considering the number of experience that you have, 28 years of experience, uh, have you seen what are the differences that you have seen in different industries? For example, if there's a manufacturing industry or there's an IT industry, okay, do they require different coverages, or is there a special need for a particular sector or something like that? Can you give us a brief idea about it, or healthcare in you have specialized?
It's cyber across the board. I think all types of industries and companies should have cyber. Cyber insurance covers everything from privacy, because there's laws here in the States, and there's laws actually in Europe and in the Middle East and in Asia. They're called general data protection requirements. And you have to have these types of coverages in place. And if you do not, you get hit with a ton of different fines and penalties.
Okay, thank you. Mohit, I have a question for you. What is a dark web and how it is used to sell the data?
Right.
What is the dark web? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Paul, I'll definitely take your view also on this after Mohit finishes.
Sure.
Okay. So Kunal, dark web is actually a marketplace, just like Amazon and Flipkart, what we have, right? Wherein you can buy and sell things. But on dark web, everything is illegal. So the threat actors I talked about, the criminals and then hacktivists and national state sponsored, what they do, they perform those cyber attacks and they execute and sell those goods and things, right? So in case of IT, it's typically more on your PII information, your bank login credentials, your credit card information, your
Mohit, I think we have lost you. Mohit?
For now, we can move to the other speakers.
Yeah, fine. Paul, can you give us a brief idea about what exactly dark web is, and have you ever dealt with it along with respect to your clients?
Yeah, what he said is definitely correct. Dark web is just a different marketplace. So it is a marketplace where hackers and cyber criminals can have the ability to buy data, buy password data, by so every type of cyber breach that has occurred through the years across the country, across the world, they contain all this information. They contain your social security numbers. They contain information about your organization. They obtain a lot of different information that people can buy. People can buy and look at this information and target employers. So that's all the dark web is. But what he said is correct. It is a marketplace where people can buy data.
Okay. Paul, can you give us
sorry, Kunal, I think I lost the connection.
Mohit is back. Yes, Mohit, please continue.
Right. So I did mention about a marketplace wherein you can buy and sell things. You can hire even a hacker. They have a menu card. You can pick and choose services, ransomware as a service, credential harvesting, DDoS attacks. I mean, all sort of services are available. You can pick and choose, right? So in theory, we see so-and-so organization got breached, but in reality, there is a different world which is running behind on dark web, and it's very scary, right? As a user, if my credit card information is lying on dark web, I mean, and if I don't have visibility, that's something which is very scary. So in reality, every organization, if I want to give you a little more perspective, right? The total population of global population is somewhere around 8 billion. And on dark web, 22 billion credentials are already getting sold. So which means more than the total global population, right? So all banks, and it's not specific to banks or any specific industry. It cut across almost all industry vertical. healthcare, manufacturing, BFSI, insurance, retail, all sort of information. And whenever there is a breach happens, right, their complete data is lying on dark web. So if I talk about the latest and greatest breaches global which happened, I mean, all the data is lying. I mean, do a quick dark web tour to the audience so that they can understand the kind of data which is lying and the importance of protecting themselves from these cyber attacks. And then, of course, the insurance will always going to help them in order to minimize the impact.
Thank you, Mohit. Mohit, I have few questions. Rather than questions, I would say I want the guest to understand what are the different kind of attack. So I'll name the attack, and you can give us a brief idea about what those kind of attacks mean. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Starting with what is a malware attack? If you can just give us an idea.
See, malware, ransomware, these are the kind of attacks, and it comes with a, I would say in a layman term, it comes with a script, right, which get downloaded on your workstation, and it can perform the actions which are not genuine, right? Either it encrypts the complete hard disk, get the data outside your network. All that business hampering activities are controlled by these ransomware or malware, and they have a command and control, right? A threat actor sitting 1,000 miles away, he will be controlling all your workstations, all your data, and slowly the data is moving out. So if I give you a few examples, Citrix, it's a largest organization, global organizations are using their product. They got breach almost, and when I say breach, right, with the malwares and similar kind of technique, and they had no clue. They came to know after 10 years that they got breached, and the data is slowly moving out from their enterprise. So all these new technologies, new tools, they work in a very passive mode so that the existing technology solutions which are available cannot detect and cannot safeguard.
Okay. So as you said that the existing tools, they are so advanced that we cannot detect them. So Nazar, coming to this point, if there is something that cannot be detected and there is a cyber breach, okay. So can you give us an idea about what specific points in the cyber insurance can help us to mitigate this or at least make good the loss?
So let me take some time to tell you like how insurance companies are also moving from providing indemnity to providing a complete solution when it comes to cyber. So when you look at the insurance company, initially more and more focus was only to provide an insurance solution wherein like if there is a loss which is caused by data breach or breach of data protection laws, the insurers used to make good of those losses in terms of defense cost, in terms of any legal liability which may arise on the insured with respect to the data which they're handling of the third party. It could be personal data, it could be corporate data. Then there are expenses in terms of forensics, expenses in terms of monitoring, expenses in terms of notification the data subject. Then there are expenses with respect to if the insured organization suffers a net profit loss with respect to the data breaches, followed by a data breach, and even extortion. So these are the major expenses which the policy do provide in terms of coverages. But when you look at now, especially the big insurers, big reinsurers, insurers, including us in India, what we have started doing and one reason, let me before I move into that part, let me also tell you why they have started doing it. Because as I said, many insurers, reinsurers globally have started facing issues with respect to managing this portfolio, because the number of notifications and claims what we experience under this policy is very high as compared to other policy. And that's why they're working with the insured to improve the quality of the risk. Now, when we are talking about the improvement of the quality of the risk, it is helping the insured, of course, to improve the quality of the risk so that they have less cyber incident. And at the same time, it is also helping the insurer in terms of a better loss ratio. They manage their portfolio better. So that's the overall objective of this particular approach. Now, when you look at the insurance companies, including us, what we do as soon as somebody insured is interested in buying the policy, we do the pre-placement services for them, which includes our tie-ups with various agencies, including BitSight, Security Scorecard, UpCard, and all those kind of agencies, which help us to analyze the risk. And we go to the client, to the customers, and tell them that these are the areas of concern, these are where your peers are probably, and these are your probably crown jewels, and these are the way you can protect them. So we review their ransomware exposure, we review various other aspects in terms of their cybersecurity, and we present a deck to them in which we explain the exposure. We share our experience in terms of what kind of attacks, what kind of compromises which we see for that particular industry. So all those information which we share, so that in short, understand the exposure much better, improve upon it. The story doesn't end there. After the placement, we do a lot of such activity, which few of them is like we do employee training. So there are companies, well-known companies who provide various modules. So we provide these modules to our insured, wherein they can extend those modules to their employees to identify, let's say, phishing attack, business email compromise attack, so that they are well aware. Because let me also share one fact, that when we look at the cyber incidents, almost 25 to 30% of the cyber incidents are happening because the employees are not well aware of this exposure, and probably clicking those links or going to those websites which they're not supposed to go. And from there, these hackers probably get a path and they hack those organizations. So there we put a lot of efforts in terms of providing employees training to those organizations so that the risk quality improves. Similarly, like there are other things like VAPT and all, which we provide as a risk management services to the insured.
Okay.
After that, even when there is a claim, when there is an actual claim, and in insurance, we say claim is the product. So when there is a claim, what we do, we have a whole lot of tie-up, which includes tie-ups with Big Fours, tie-ups with various security agencies, the world-renowned agencies. And it's just not limited to India, because when we are talking about this exposure, the exposure is just not limited to India. So we have tie-ups globally with those agencies, wherein if suppose a branch or maybe a subsidiary of an insured is getting compromised, let's say in other part of the world, maybe Europe or US or UK or other Asian countries, we are able to provide help in terms of legal consultation, in terms of forensics, in terms of ransomware consultation to our insureds, to not only minimize those losses, but to take action as soon as possible. So these are the ways the insurance companies have started working when it comes to the cyber insurance portfolio.
Thank you, Nazar. Paul, I would like to understand what exactly is a phishing attack, okay, and how it has made different companies susceptible to cyber attacks.
So phishing basically is, the gentleman Najim just explained what's going on within the industry through the dark web. But phishing is a technique that hackers use. They look at and they target employers, and they send out an email that looks legitimate. It could be from your bank. It could be from a vendor. It's with their logo and an employee. And I would say that not only 30% of the reasons for a data breach is from phishing, from an employee looking at something or clicking on an email. It's actually here in the States, we're seeing 90% of the cyber attacks are due to an employee clicking on a phishing email. So basically, a phishing email is an email comes in that's crafted and it looks legitimate, and someone clicks on it, and then that's when the malware is released within the system. Whether they stay in there for 90 days or 6 months to troll the network, or they actually lock up the system through ransomware. All right. So that is what a phishing attack is. Basically, it's an email program. It's an email generated from a hacker It looks legitimate. Someone clicks on it, and that's how the actual data breach occurs.
So when I talk about phishing attack, is social engineering fraud or fake fraud a part of phishing attack, or is it a different thing?
No, social engineering is definitely part of a phishing attack. Social engineering basically is the hacker or the cyber criminal does their research, and they look at a target company that they're going to go after. They go on LinkedIn, they go on websites, they find out who the CFO is, who the HR director is, and they go after that particular organization. So social engineering is basically a technique that hackers use to do the research to develop their phishing attack or the phishing program.
Okay. And is this a part of a basic cyber insurance program, or do we need an endorsement for such kind of coverages? What has your experience?
Here in the States, the cyber program, the cyber coverages, cyber insurance, they cover everything from extortion to social engineering, computer fraud, funds transfers, and things of that nature. So that's part of a cyber policy. Some policies are a part of general liability. It's kind of an add-on or value added that only give you certain limits, a small amount of limits. You really need a separate cyber policy that covers all that. But it does, to answer your question, it's included within the cyber policy itself.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mohit,
can you give us an idea about what is a man-in-the-middle attack?
See, Kunal, man-in-the-middle attack is something like you're talking to, let's say, in a layman term, right? You are talking with your buddy, and if somebody comes in between, spoof your connection and start getting the data. So in an IT system, whenever IT system connects and communicate, it's a TCP/IP three-way handshake happens, and typically man-in-the-middle attack. Intruder get inside the communication and then spoof the communication just to pretend as in you are talking to a genuine entity. So this is also one kind of attacks which are very popular in today's world. But just to give you a little more context, you were talking about phishing. That is one of the prominent one. And I mean, if I just want to give you a little more perspective, right, on the phishing, the magnitude of phishing attacks are so high that every 20 seconds a new phishing site is launched. And you can understand if a 20 seconds a new phishing site is launched, I mean, it can target millions of users. And things are so sophisticated in today's world. I mean, they target you, but they target in a very passive mode, right? What does that mean? They capture your credential, but they don't do anything. They will just put a forwarding email on your CEO. So they grab your CEO account, right? They put a forwarding email on the CEO account. So all the emails which are coming to CEO are getting forwarded to threat actors, and he have a complete visibility, right? So there are different techniques which these threat actors are typically using. Social engineering is one of them. I mean, it's all about alluring the users and getting the data or credential or identity out of the network, and then use those data points to get inside the network and do a larger fraud.
Thank you, Mohit. Thank you. Nazam, trying to connect this, I would like to know what is a denial of service attack, and then how insurance, cyber insurance, has three different pillars, that is first party loss, third party loss, and business interruption. So give us an idea about denial of service attack, and then how the three pillars of cyber insurance helps us to make good business.
When it comes to denial of service attack, it can lead to various exposures to the insured, wherein insured may first would like to understand the impact of that, first to identify what kind of exposure they are going through, what is the which all systems have been impacted, what is the impact on their network connectivity and things like that. So the first trigger under the policy will be your forensics, wherein they will be involving probably a big four or an agency which is helping them to understand, identify a DDoS attack. And the DDoS attack can lead to various other issues it could be like a situation wherein the hackers are asking for a ransom money to remove the what you call impact of the denial of service attack, or probably it could be a even business interruption issue for the insured, that they are unable to operate completely. And again, that leads to two issues. One, there will be net profit loss to the insured if they are highly dependent on their network. And there are other issues, like as I said, they can ask for ransom money. So these are the areas which we see wherein the exposure is coming, and the policy do have coverages to respond to these situations.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you. Coming to Paul. Paul, can you give us a brief idea about what Access services do and how they help their customers? And what is your role when it comes to Access services?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Can you give us a brief idea about your organization, that Access Services LLP, and what is your role in the organization, and how do you help your customers or your clients with respect to the insurance requirements?
All right. Sorry about that. Yeah. So Access Insurance Services has been around for 21 years. We're an independent professional liability brokerage firm. Services that we provide to our customers, I mean, from the product side, is not only cyber, but it's also errors and omissions or professional liability, directors and officers, employment practice liability, crime insurance, fiduciary insurance, and obviously cyber insurance. So the services that we provide to our customers, first of all, we have to, we help our customers here in the States. So if any of the folks that are on the call or the presentation today that have locations here in the States, there are certain requirements for professionals to have types of insurances here. So we help our customers and our brokers understand what those services are, and we provide those services to those particular clients.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Mohit, can you give us an idea about what exactly Fossit does and how you help your customers?
So, Kunal, me and my company and me and my colleagues, basically we work very closely with customers to understand what is their cyber hygiene looks like, right? So we have this SaaS-based solution, which we call Digital Risk Protection Platform. What it does, it continuously monitor organization digital risk, right? And when I say digital risk, it is around three different dimensions. One is how an organization is perceived from outside in, more from a hacker's third eye perspective. Second is how an organization looks like more from an inside out, more from an employee awareness, cyber hygiene, compliance, and lot more different parameters. And the third aspect is outside out, wherein we monitor all these threat actors, what they are doing, are they trying to target your vertical, your industry? And then we combine all these three data points to give a security score, right? We are not stopping there. We are not just giving a security score, but we do a predictive analysis and we do safeguard users from these targeted attacks. So let me just give you a couple of examples, right? Brand reputation attacks. I mean, these are typically water holing attacks on your business. So threat actors, what they do, they create a cloned copy of your website or your mobile app, and they target your customers. And as a result, I mean, if even a one customer or thousands or hundred of customers are getting trapped, I mean, you will lose those customers. The complete trust will go for a toss, right? So we monitor and we scan the complete internet, complete social platform, deep web, dark web, and we identify if there are any campaigns, if there are any frauds which are happening, like in case of banks, right? If I take logo of one of the bank and then create a fake page on social platform saying a new toll-free number of so-and-so bank, I mean, how do I control? How do I get that visibility? So through this solution, enterprise can get a complete visibility about the brand reputation side, how vulnerable they are, what kind of vulnerability they have, whether the vulnerabilities which they have, whether those vulnerabilities are exploitable and the exploits are available in the market, whether their credentials, debit card, credit cards are breached, and threat actors are trying to reuse and misuse using a replay attack. Ransomware as a service, we identify whether there are any targeted ransomware attacks on your employees, right? And dark web, as I said, right, we continuously monitor 24/7, 365 days.
Okay.
And through this solution, organization can even minimize the insurance EMI, insurance premium, right? If their cyber hygiene is so intact and it's a good state, I mean, they will have to pay less to the insurance provider. So in a way, it's a complete holistic solution, 365 days monitoring, 360-degree visibility to CISO community, so that whenever a CISO going and talking to board of directors, they have a right set of visibility about their digital assets and how to even protect them with a predictive analysis.
Okay. Okay. So, guest, you can post your questions. We will soon take your questions and ask the panelists if you have any specific questions with respect to any panelist. Nazim, can you give us an idea what would be the journey if someone wants to buy a cyber insurance?
Thanks, Kunal. So when it comes to cyber insurance, and it's just not the proposal form wherein like the insurers have started underwriting it. Initially, those were the ways wherein like the insurers just used to ask for proposal form, but they later realized that if they are not able to understand the complete posture of the insured, what kind of security or what kind of safety which they are having in terms of ransomware exposure. So that's why like what they have developed is slowly they have developed their own cyber risk consulting team, wherein like they do have these questions along with the proposal form which they share with the insureds. So for us, like there is a ransomware questionnaire which we share with our insureds, which has to be filled by the IT team of the insured, and then we get into a call with the insured to understand it much better. And we do have questions with respect to their patching cadence. We do have questions with respect to their service account, how they are managing those service account with DA privileges and things like that. So we understand those exposures and the response of the insured on that how they manage those exposures. And we definitely, as I said, that is one of my pre-placement services also, wherein we inform the insured what kind of exposure which we see or what kind of claims which we have experienced coming from those industries on various geographies. So that is what we share. But at the same time, that report comes to me for underwriting. On the basis of that, we evaluate the risk, we decide the premium, we decide the policy retention that is deductible. We also decide the terms and conditions of the policy, and accordingly we offer the cover to the insured.
Sure,
that's
please.
in precise.
Thank you, Nagar. Paul, just to understand certain jargons with respect to the cyber insurance, I would like to ask a few questions. Can you give us an idea what exactly deductible means and waiting period means?
What does a deductible mean?
And what does a waiting period mean in cyber insurance?
Okay. So typically in our policies here in the States, there is no deductible when you have a privacy. They cover $1 million or $2 million for a breach. The deductibles come into play when there are certain things like I'm trying to think some examples here. So there are certain parts of a policy where you pay a $5,000 deductible or a $25,000 deductible, and it depends here. Because of what's happening with cyber, years ago the deductibles were a lot lower. Now the retentions and deductibles are a lot higher because of the risk profile with all the ransomware that is occurring. So your deductible basically is if you have a part of your policy. You'll pay a certain part of that when that policy kicks off if you have that event.
Yeah, and what exactly waiting period means?
Waiting period is usually when you have a breach or you have a business interruption. Your system has to be down for 8 hours here, or it could be 16 hours depending upon the policy. But your system has to be down for a certain amount of period. until when the insurance kicks in. We do recommend, obviously, if you do have a breach or a ransomware event, you should call your broker and or insurance carrier as soon as possible. Let them know what's going on, so that timer kicks off and your waiting period starts.
Okay. And is there any specific formula to determine what should be the limit of liability that an insured should go for, or it depends upon the risk factor?
It all depends upon the risk factor. I mean, so you're looking, look, carriers, like I said, years ago, were so much easier to get insurance policies for cyber. But because of what's going on, we've all talked about today with ransomware events and data breaches, the policies are dictated. Some carriers won't even write the insurance for certain companies because their score, I think, Mohit and Najim said, if your security score is low or you don't have those security protocols in place, some insurance carriers here in the States won't even give you insurance. If you don't have those provisions in place, they're not going to give you a quote.
Okay. And is there any ballpark figure for the premium with respect to cyber insurance that you have seen over the years?
It all depends. It really comes down to how much revenue you have as an organization. It also depends on how many records you have. And records would be, personal identifiable information. So banks would have a lot of information, obviously, for their customers. And insurance carriers would have a lot of records. So the more records you have, the more exposure you have, which means your premium is going to be higher. So if you were, just to give you a ballpark here in the States, if I have a consulting firm who needs to have cyber insurance, a $1 million policy with a $5,000 deductible, if they have the controls in place, could be $1,500 US dollars to $3,000 or $4,000 in US dollars.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure how it is in India, what the cost is of that premium.
Thank you, Paul. Mohit, can you give us a personal example wherein you have handled a cyber breach, or your organization has handled a cyber breach, without naming the organization, obviously, and how things unfold when it comes to a cyber breach?
Right. So Kunal, basically, we work with various organizations, global organizations, cutting across almost all the verticals, starting from BFSI, manufacturing, healthcare, retail, online banking. The typical issue when it comes to the breach side, right? When we offer same set of service which runs and which gives the audit finding risk score, and almost all agencies, right? They got breach in certain I would say capacity, right? The bad part is they were not aware they got breach and their data is lying somewhere. That's the scary part. So if I have a visibility as a CISO for organization, I can still control things, right? I can still control the damage. But if I talk about the telecom providers or banks, their debit card, credit card got breached, and it's lying, getting sold in less than the cost of a burger. I mean, $5 you can purchase a credit card or debit card. Similarly, the complete data. So whenever there is a breach happens, right, the typical issue is the on-ground team doesn't have a clear understanding what needs to be done. In majority of cases, they switch off the device. As a result, the complete process, right, more from a forensic and then the claim part and then the other things more from a regulatory side, it will not get completed because chain of the custody is not maintained. So as an organization, I mean, when I talk to my customers, I put down a lot of emphasis. You need to have an incident response process, incident response team, communication team. So suppose tomorrow you got breached. How do you communicate your stakeholders, your customer, right? So it needs to have a complete process in place, which can safeguard and minimize the impact.
Thank you, Mohit. Paul, having a broker with a client, how does it help? And in case of a claim, how does a broker help the client?
Well, basically, the broker brings to the table, obviously their expertise, right? But the broker, it's like, for example, in our company, we work with our clients. So if for example, our client has a breach or a ransomware event, they call us, and then we work with the insurance carrier. So we have a whole separate team with an organization does. So to answer your question, we want to be involved. We just don't want to sell the policy. We want to be involved. We want to be the navigator here to bring, if the situation occurs, get to the insurance carrier and get that data breach coach to start that process and have that forensics process start. The sooner you get to the situation, so let's say, for example, if funds are being transferred, so somehow money was taken, you want to get involved as soon as possible so that money can be recoverable or recovered.
Thank you. Nazam, in short, if I ask you, why is it the need of the hour to have a cyber insurance and why Tata AIG? If you can give answer in a brief.
So let me give you one example. So this is an incident of 2015 when, like, as I said, 2014 we launched this product. 2015 I received a proposal from a real estate company. As an underwriter, as an insurer, when I looked at that proposal, I felt that it is one of the safe risk to underwrite. And of course, fortunately for me, the limit was very small at that point of time, which they bought. So they bought a policy, cyber policy, and within 5 months, we had that incident wherein 92 of their computers were completely encrypted, and there was a huge ransom demand which the hackers have asked. Fortunately, the company was good on the cybersecurity side, and they were having complete data backup. So we, of course, appointed one Big Four. And with the help of them, we were able to clean up their systems. And they haven't gone and made the ransom payment to those guys because it was quite huge. So they went for formatting the computers and reinstalled all those data and all. Why I shared this example with you is when we are talking and when we are discussing this, I can tell you it is just not maybe financial institution, maybe IT or outsourcing, wherein like we see those companies are data heavy. Anybody like who's using technology, who's using simple tools, computers, laptops, they can be exposed to cyber risk. And I would like to also include what Mohit said, that it is just not one-time investment. You have to keep on investing on your cyber exposure so that you are ready with all the new trends, new methods which these hackers are using. And insurance, as I said, is the last wall of defense, wherein if you still have financial losses, the insurance company will support you in terms of handling those exposures, paying those losses, so that you have less and less financial impact. Now, coming back to what Tata AIG can offer, and again, let me give you one very recent example. And this is how like insurers are changing the way they handle the cyber insurance. So very recently, and I can tell you the date, it was 2nd of March, midnight at around like 12:30, my Singapore risk consulting team informed us that one of our IT clients are going through a cyber incident, and with the help of an agency called Endarial, they were able to identify that there were data which is up for sale in dark web, and we informed the insured, and at night 12:30, my underwriting team along with the CISO of the company, including my cyber risk consultant from Singapore and New York, we were on the call with the insured. And next day by 4:30, we were able to like remove the exposure completely from the insured's portfolio. So this is how we now have started looking at helping our insured when it comes to cyber exposure. So it's just not indemnity or the sum insured, what we say in a layman's term, which we provide to the insured. We work with them so that the risk quality improves and the exposure reduces for them as well as for the insurance company, so that we have a better portfolio to manage. So that's the way we handle cyber insurance.
Thank you, Nazam. Thank you. Paul, one final question. if you have an opportunity to buy a new car, or if you are running an organization and you want to buy a cyber insurance, what would you go for? Buying a car or a cyber insurance?
If you want to buy the cyber insurance, first of all, the supply chain situation, you can't get cars anymore here in the States. It's very difficult, right? But I would say everyone should invest in cyber insurance, whether you work with, it's just very important because of what the exposures you have. If you have a ransom event could put you out of business. Because so if you don't have the backups that Najam was talking about and Mohit was talking about, you don't have that data backup, and you get hit with a ransom event, and you need to be in business to stay in business. That ransom event could put you out of business.
Thank you. The floor is now open to the questions. If you guys have any questions, please put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask to our panelists.
Hi, Kunal. We have one question from Mr. Jayesh Ahuja.
Yeah.
Jayesh, you can unmute yourself and ask a question to the speakers, or otherwise I can read it out for you.
Sure, sir. Hi, sir. Very good afternoon to all the panelists and the guests. So my question is to the entire panel. I basically wanted to understand, is there any such set formula to calculate or to estimate any revenue losses that an insured can face in the event there is no cyber insurance in place? This is one. And the other one was relating to this, is that are there any agencies, any forensic audit agencies in India and abroad who do such sort of, estimations or evaluations, perhaps adding as a value add to the client prior to purchasing a cyber insurance?
No.
So,
Mohit, would you like to?
Yeah, so let me give you a quick overview, right? So I did talk about the digital risk, right? So first aspect is understanding your digital risk, and then identifying the probability that your assets will get breached or it will not get breached, right? So there is something called quantification service, wherein you identify the cost of your asset in case there is a compromise happens. And based on that, you can identify what is a total revenue loss going to have tangible and non-tangible loss going to happen on your business. So of course, you need to subscribe quantification services which can quantify your losses when it comes to a digital risk.
Right, sir. So, but is there any way to sort of, quantify this or something?
Yeah, I think Paul. So
Absolutely, there are different models available, Jayesh. Probably you can use. There are different models which are available to quantify your assets and the risk exposure.
Paul, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so we work with a number of different carriers, and they have examples in their proposals on what you're going to potentially see during a ransom event or a data breach event. What is that cost going to be? It's not just the event. It's the cost of the data breach coach. It's the cost of forensics. And I can supply that to you, and you can share it with the audience. But we have a number of different examples here, and these are examples here in the States, what the cost would be. But that could be universal to a certain extent. The costs for any of these events, it does cost a certain amount of money. But I will get you some examples that you can share with the audience after the presentation.
Definitely.
Sure, sir. That would be really nice. Thank you, sir.
There was one more question from. One second. From Ishwar sir. If someone clicks on the phishing link and provide information which received on the company mail account and company laptop as per the phishing link, then what we have? Okay, so basically Ishwar sir wants to understand that if someone clicks on a phishing link and your data is breached, what should be the next step?
So the immediate step would be inform your security operation team. And as an organization, right, every organization has certain policies and procedures. What happens, what needs to be done in case of employee get compromised. So immediately you need to inform your SOC team, and they can initiate a recovery procedure to see what is the impact. If your credentials are breached, they will change your credentials, and in a way, right? So as a SOC operation team, they will identify the impact. If you have clicked on, let's say, one of the link, and that link has downloaded some kind of malware or ransomware, so they can containerize the complete impact. They can isolate your device, and then they can basically reduce the impact on the overall business. So in a nutshell, basically, whenever you feel, right, there is a mistake happen, don't feel shy, inform your IT team. Or if it's a personal, I mean, you got compromised personally, then you need to take corrective actions, and either inform the cyber police and take a corrective actions.
Thank you, Mohit. Any other questions?
Kunal, I had one question. Kunal?
Please go ahead, Mr. Amit. I think Kunal, we lost.
Oh, okay. So my question was with Mohit and Paul, who can answer me. So you were discussing about dark web and the information available so easily. But what I'm thinking these days, is the data is already available on Google and all for a meager sum of money. So we can pay 500 rupees or 1000 rupees and we'll get unlimited amount of data. So is that legal, first of all? Because many organizations are running on selling the data. And if we as an organization are buying the data by paying the money, and we are paying the taxes also, so whether it is legal or illegal, whether we should be involved in purchasing of that data, or how we can safeguard us as an organization.
See, according to me, if the data correspond to PII information of employee, that's not legal. Secondly, if you get encountered similar situation where your data, your email ID or your phone number is getting exposed on a lot of website, there are mechanisms where you can ask them to remove your data from the list. But in theory, your personal data, your PII information cannot be revealed, and it's your right to even take a corrective actions onto those organizations.
So sorry, I got disconnected because of network issue. Amit, do you have any other question, or should we continue?
No, I had one more question.
Please continue.
Just a second. Yeah. So the thing was that I think Mohit already answered partially to the question. Okay, when we are under an attack, okay, the first step is informing our IT team and everything. But how to deal when the attack is already done? So I have my security in place. We have our backup and everything. So in that case, how this policy will help me to counter that attack?
See, when you are under attack, right, you need I would say, a Superman within your team who are specialized in carrying out incident response activities, and that needs to be jotted in a very precise manner. You need to do some kind of simulation activities tomorrow. Let's say you got breach and what needs to be done, right? Secondly, if you are aligned with some kind of regulatory bodies, you need to inform them about the breach. And of course, the first step is don't shut down your system. You are killing the complete process. So ultimately, you need to either, if you have a SOC team in place or a specialized team in place, you need to align with them, or you need to have a retainer model with the professional service providers like us or other organizations, and then they will jump onto those cases and then try to empower them and try to basically see the impact, whether it's just a very small breach or one credential breach, or it's the breach is related to your PII data, your source code, your complete customer data. And based on that, the complete strategy will be derived, what needs to be done to minimize the impact on the organization. In certain cases, you might need to talk to threat actors, right? So, I mean, there is a back channel which happens in theory. which can basically reduce the impact on the organization.
Got it. And I had one last question with Najim. So, sir, as well, it's basically a silly question if I say, but still I wanted to ask. So, I have my security measures in place. So, first thing is, why do I need an insurance policy? And second thing is, I am attacked as an organization, and my data is already leaked. So, how can an insurance policy or the cyber insurance policy will help me to control that data or control that leakage?
The first thing is like why you need a cyber insurance policy. We discussed this on like various aspects, that you probably may have the best of security, but you're not 100% secure. Probably an employee of yours making some error, and which is leading to the bad actors getting a path to your systems, or there could be possibility wherein a personal data which your system or your organizations are having may get breached by an error or omission on the part of your insured. It could be a human error, and that's leading to a data breach. Now, following that, what can happen with you or your organization is like there could be a legal liability which a third party, probably you're holding the third party data. It could be a personal data or a data of a corporate client, wherein like their designs or formula which you're using to develop a software, let's say, and those guys comes after you start put a legal liability claim against you. In such circumstances, the policy do provide defense cost. So you will probably hire a law firm to defend yourself, to defend the charges. And if suppose there is any settlement against you, the policy do even cover the settlement on behalf of you. Not only limited to that, there could be regulatory actions followed by that. So probably that insured goes and inform to the regulator, and regulators start taking actions, investigations against you. And if you're hiring a law firm to defend those or to represent your case to the regulator, the professional fee of the law firm or the forensics which you are using to substantiate your case, those expenses policy do respond to. So these are the various things. The other thing, like when you spoke about the data breaches, many times what we see, even regulators instruct the data handler to put that data on monitoring. Now, again, that monitoring activity is conducted by these forensics firms, and they do charge practically on hourly basis for those activity. Now, the policy even pays for the monitoring cost under the policy. There are other expenses like notification. Now, you are responsible to notify those guys whose data has been compromised from your system. So even that is a cost to you, wherein the policy do have provisions to even pick up those notification cost on behalf of you. So these are the provisions which the policy do have to safeguard the insured from these costs.
Just to add on Najim's point, I mean, we have seen similar kind of scenarios, right? One of the Apple partner got breached, the complete source code and complete design got breached and lying on various channels. And through the insurance, proper insurance handling capacity, they were able to control the damage because, as Najim said, I mean, you have firm and then you have a tie-up. And if you as an organization get breached, the impact would be high, not more directly from the breach, but more from a partner perspective.
Thank you.
So we have one question from the, we have one question from one of the guests. The question is that we are an IT company and we develop softwares for our clients. We deal with a lot of personal information and corporate information. How can cyber insurance help us? So it's an open-ended question. I think, Paul, if you would like to answer this.
So you're an IT software development company. So you know that type of exposure is more of a technology / errors and emissions policy or professional liability policy. So you're going to have two types of exposures. Not only are you going to have the exposure if you have a breach or a ransom event, but your technology that's being used by your customers, if there's a situation where that causes a breach, that policy will respond to that as well. So you have for lack of a better analogy here, you have a double whammy. You have the technology piece that you have to secure and ensure for your customers. So if something goes wrong with your technology and it hurts your customer has a loss, you need to have coverage for that. And you also need the professional liability piece for those services too. So that's what you need.
I'm ready to talk to Dr. Glassman. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Another question, what is the minimum deductible in India? So Nazam, if you can answer this.
Yeah, so Kunal, there's nothing called minimum deductible. It depends on many factors like which company you are, which industry you're operating, which jurisdiction your exposure is coming from, which industry you're serving. So there are a lot of components which goes into it. And on the basis of that, an insurer or an underwriter decides the policy premium as well as the deductible. We don't have any minimum deductible as such when it comes to the cyber policy.
So just to give an idea to our guest present over here. So there are various different jurisdiction and different territories that you can cover yourself for. One is only India. Another is worldwide, including US and Canada. Another is worldwide, excluding US and Canada. So the major exposure comes when it is worldwide, including US and Canada. And also depending upon the sector that you're operating from, your deductibles vary. So there can be a policy wherein the deductibles can go up to 50 lakhs to 1 crore as well. And there can be the sector wherein the deductibles can be around 10 lakh, 15 lakh or 20 lakh also. So again, it depends on the risk factor and the sector that you're operating from.
And here in the States, your deductible, like what Najim says, depends on your industry. Like, for example, real estate. I have a carrier that typically has a deductible of $2,500 the US dollars. In real estate, because it's some exposure that's happening there, that deductible could be higher on that particular account, could be $10,000. We have municipalities, school districts, government entities, where carriers the minimum deductible they're going to offer is $25,000. So it does depending upon your industry and the carrier's appetite for that particular industry and what the deductible will be. So,
yeah.
And just to add on Paul, what he said. So if I have to tell you the deductibles in India, so let me give you two deductibles. One is which is on the lower side. So you have deductible somewhere around like $7,500 US. And at the same time, you have Indian companies having deductible up to $3 million US in their policy.
Yeah, exactly. It varies from companies to companies.
Yeah.
One more question. How are business interruptions quantified and covered by insurers? I think Nazam, you would be the best person to answer this.
So when it comes to the calculation of business interruption, when you look at the property policies, they're well defined for industry to industry. But when it comes to cyber policy, it's a new product. So what we see, and even when you look at all the wordings which is available in India, like the way we follow AIG wording here in India, insurers have left that portion on the insureds to substantiate the loss which they have incurred during that network interruption period. Of course, there are specialized firms. If I have to name one, is Baker Tilly is one of them, who are like quite good, and we use them when it comes to the business interruption claim. So the insureds can use services from various agencies, including the Big Fours or chartered accountant firms, to help them to substantiate the business interruption loss. And insurers, of course, they do take help of their own expertise. Like, as I said, like we have various tie-ups, including Big Fours, wherein like we look at those submissions coming from the insured, and we do honor on the basis of the document submitted by the insured.
Thank you, Nazim.
One thing about the business interruption piece of it here in the States, that we're seeing such a trend where these systems are being locked up. that more and more of these claims are coming into the carriers, and the carriers obviously are responding by increasing their premiums and limiting their exposure by offering different deductibles for those types of losses still. Or worse yet, putting a sublimit. So if you have $1 million limit, they could put a limit on business interruption. It could be $100,000, $250,000, whatever it is. But that is something you have to look for too when you're looking at these policies.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, guys? I think there are no more questions from the guest side. So just to give a quick introduction about Ethica, we are an insurance broker and we help our clients to get the insurance policies in place. And it's not just limited to group health insurance or liability insurance. We deal with all kinds of insurance that are there in the market, be it health, life, cyber insurance, directors, officers liability insurance, errors and omission insurance, group health insurance. Okay, so we help our clients to get the best possible coverages in the market, depending upon the sector and the company that they are operating for. And accordingly, we negotiate with the insurance companies, and we hold your hand in case if there is claim in the future. So if there is any requirement, you can definitely contact us with respect to the insurance, and we will definitely help you. Closing remarks. So we would start with some closing remarks. Nazim, would you give a short closing remark from your side, and then we'll move to other panelists.
Thanks, Kunal. So when it comes to cyber insurance, let me tell you from the insurer side also, we always say that it's one of the most successful product, but one of the most difficult product to handle. And on the other side also, and I will substantiate this with Lloyd's of London, identifying cyber is one of the major exposure. So when they name 3 major exposure for any organization, cyber is one of them. So definitely it is something which is becoming bigger and bigger every day for individuals as well as for organizations. And various reports suggest India is one of the target countries. So I feel like every organization, whether it's an insurance company or any other company for that matter, should look at cyber insurance very seriously. Just not the cyber insurance, but cyber security as a whole. So that's my take on this particular thing.
Thank you, Nazim. Just a fun fact, even the insurance company insures themselves.
Very right.
Paul.
You know, with all the stuff that's happening with cyber, it doesn't just hit your firm on just the cyber piece of it. So if you have a cyber incident, one thing I want to share with you from my closing remark is that you could be exposed to other types of losses. So if you have a cyber, now you have a responsibility for your customers to hold their personal identifiable information and privacy. You could also get hit from a directors and officers side of it. So as if you're a public entity and you have shareholders, you have a responsibility to hold that. So just because you have a cyber incident, that could affect other areas from a liability perspective in your organization. So it's something you really should look at and to identify not only what that risk is, what risk is that to your organization as a whole.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you. Mohit?
So Kunal, I mean, just to give you a little more perspective, Gartner cybersecurity report suggests CISOs have 60 to 70% visibility about their attack surface. So as an organization, we empower CISO community. So whenever they are talking to board of directors and whenever they have a difficult times, we always support them, reducing their risk, digital risk, and it will enable them to achieve a digital transformation initiatives for their end customers. So in a way, it's not just about protecting the assets and employee, but also protecting the trust of your customers.
Thank you. Thank you. And I would just like to add one thing that we have partnered with Fosit, and Fosit will help you out with respect to cybersecurity, getting cybersecurity in place. And we're very, very happy to have them on board with us. Thank you.
Pleasure, Kunal.
Thank you. So with this, we would like to end the session over here.
Sorry
Yes.
to be here. So before we close, I would like to just launch a poll to get some feedback on the session and things that we've discussed so far. And I would also, with your permission, to showcase a slide that has your contact details. If anyone wants to get in touch with you in regards to a cyber insurance or cyber security policy, they can do so. Right.
Thank you. Yeah, please go.
Request everyone to take a few minutes before you leave the session and give us a feedback so that we'll understand what are you looking at exactly and curate more sessions like this, and we can do a deep down dive also into a particular topic if required. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nazum, Mohit, and Paul for taking your time out and making this session an insightful session. I am sure that all our guests would have got some good insights about cybersecurity and cyber insurance, and this will definitely help them in making the cyber place a better place. Thank you so much.